Ghost Cult Magazine welcomes in Earle from the Swaggerlies. How are you doing, Earle?
I am doing great.
Yeah, man. Thanks for spending some time with us. We really appreciate it. You have a brand new record coming out, The Last of the One and Onlys. We're super excited to talk about it. Just general, like I did right before we started recording, just generally speaking, I hope you're well, the band as well, your families. This has been a really tough time for anybody who's trying to be in the music business, yourself included.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, we kind of, right when we just finished a little mini tour right when COVID hit. And we had a couple of these songs recorded and we figured, okay, we're not going to be able to play live. So we're just going to use this time and just write and record and try and get this album, done. And we had that was the one benefit of COVID is we had the time to actually write and record and take it a couple songs a month, and just knock it out and make sure we were happy with it because we had no pressure to like put some out and go on play out, so we just concentrated on writing.
Right on. Well, it's important, especially to satisfy yourself first and foremost, like that the record is up to your own standards. I often talk about this with bands, which is I think that younger bands don't think or pause to self-edit. Like that's not good enough. That could be better. But as you get older, this was the case for me when I played in bands. As I got on in my career, I took extra time to write because I really don't, this is forever. I really don't want to put this out with my name on it if it's not really making me happy.
Exactly. I agree. And we're all pretty good. I mean, and the four of us have been in bands for a long time. I mean, some of us since the 80s, and so we've been around the block and we've like, okay, if this song sucks, one of us has got to catch it. Like it's nothing, half-assed is going to get out of this band, out of this practice room if we can help it. So luckily we're self-editors. Over the years, we've learned to edit. It's just going to be something we're going to be proud of, down the road. It's just going to be a laughing, something to laugh at. So luckily, all the experience we got, it's a little easier to self-edit and realize, this is a shitty song or this is a killer song,
Right on. And just if you want to give us a little comic book origin episode 1 of yourself and then how you formed the band or how the band formed, we'd love to hear about it.
Okay, I was in a band called Guns of Nevada, and we were kind of a local, kind of a regional band, and played a lot for like 10 years, and the band broke up. We were kind of like, I wouldn't say cowpunk, but it was kind of cross between like Motorhead and cowpunk kind of vibe. So the band fizzled out, and on our last album, the last Guns of Nevada album, we had Ron Heathman from the Super Suckers. I was in contact with him. We were kind of Facebook friends, and I asked him. I said, "Hey, man, do you want to come play on this album with us?" And we've opened for the Super Suckers, and we kind of know those guys, not really well, but we kind of know them. And Ron wasn't in the Super Suckers at the time. He was living out in Michigan. And he said, "Yeah, man, I'd love to come play on your album." And I was just like blown away because this dude's one of my favorite guitar players, man. He's up there with like Malcolm. He's up there with, Fast Eddie from Motorhead. That's Ron Heathman. And so our label flew him out to Seattle. It was actually Thanksgiving weekend back in 2015. Yeah, it's 6 years ago. And he stayed with me. I got to know him, loved the dude. He was going to record on one song, and he ended up playing on like 5 or 6 of our songs. And we all just loved Ron. He flew back to Michigan, and we were done with that part of it. A few years later, he decided to move back to Seattle permanently. And this is when Guns of Nevada was kind of fizzling out. And I said, "Hey, man, you know what? I've never played in a cover band. I've never done covers in my life. I've always written my own stuff. But man, lately I'm getting into like old 70s, like honky tonk, like Waylon Jennings and Merle. So let's do a cover band, man, just for the fun of it, because I'm not doing anything right now and it could be fun." So we learned all these old country songs, me and Ron, and did that for a few months. And then we're like, you know what? We just got to make some original music again. I'm sitting there going, this is one of the best guitar players, I've ever heard. I got to create music with this guy. I'm not going to let this opportunity pass me by. He's a good friend of mine. I love the guy. We're going to make some fucking killer songs. So we did. We recorded a Christmas song, was our first song for Music Cares, which is like a charity for musicians. So we recorded this quick and dirty Christmas song and made a video for it. It was so much fun. said, well, maybe we'll just start a band. So I talked to my old buddy Jerry Leonard, he's our bass player, and he recorded the Christmas song with Ron, and I like, dude, let's. I know you're kind of in between projects right now. And Jerry and I played together years ago in the band, and he said, yeah, let's do it. And Ron was up for it, so we took a while for us to find a drummer, and we finally got Rob Olson, who's our drummer now, and he's been kicking around forever, man. He's been in like so many bands. He's a grizzled veteran, badass drummer, hits hard, plays fast. And he's like, hey man, I want in too. So we got Rob, and then we just started tracking. We went to our friend's studio in West Seattle, and we recorded Disco Cocaine and a song called Outrage. And that's Ron Heathman on guitar. It's killer. And we're like, okay, we got to do some more. Things happened. We didn't record anything else. And then Ron passed away in August of 2020. So that ship kind of sailed, and and then we got our friend Captain Ron Storr on lead guitar, and he's a great guitar player, great guy. But we still miss Rontrose all the time. He's on the cover of our CD. That's Ron on the cover, Ron Heathman, and that's the last of the one and oldies. Is kind of like that's about Ron, really. Nice,
man. That's a great tribute. The album cover is very cool. I did not know that. That's super cool and a great way to pay tribute. He was a very singular guitar player, and I definitely tell people to go all the time, check out bands like the Super Suckers. It's very interesting because you guys came from the scene. People don't remember that, like, the air quotes cowpunk was like before grunge was a big deal, and even like Alice in Chains had a cowboy song, Queen of the Rodeo, that was like a radio hit locally, and people don't remember because they just think that everything went from like alternative rock to pop punk and grunge. But they don't remember that this was like a very vibrant scene where people were trying to, like, if you see the punk in Waylon, if you see the punk in Johnny Cash, if you see how Motorhead is also punk as much as the Ramones is, and it's really just a couple of twangs away from being country music. It's not that good country music. It's not that far away. So I was a big fan, and obviously there's a Social D thing in there and a Mike Ness thing in there. But also I hear stuff like the very hard rock part of Tom Petty in there, because Tom Petty was a guy who kind of was like, I like all these different, I like the Eagles, and I also like hard rock, and I like Led Zeppelin. So how do I mash these things together? And so that's what I really dig about the vibe and the style of the band and the record, because I think it's going to reach people. It's going to be like, oh, I get it. Like, if you didn't already know, you will know now.
Yeah. Well, we definitely wear our influences on our sleeves. I mean, I'm a huge Tom Petty fan. In fact, we put out an EP a few years ago, live at Daryl's Tavern, and we actually do a Tom Petty cover, the live EP, and Ron sings it. Ron Heathman sings it. Need to know. So yeah, and we're all huge Tom Petty fans, and Motorhead fans, and AC/DC fans, Ramones fans, Replacements fans. The Clash. That's so we're unabashedly we steal from all the best.
That's what you're supposed to do. That's all good. Yeah. I can't recommend highly enough that Wildflowers documentary about that album and Tom. Not my favorite Petty album, but it was like the last thing they really did. So it's worth checking out. Pretty good. Okay, and sure. Tom. So it's a big loss. That's another. They're all losses. So you lost, Ron, but like at a certain point, it's like, man, we're losing all the greats. It's getting scary.
Yeah, man. It's just that year span. It went from like Lemmy at the end of 2015, and it's like every couple months, like no.
I never really got over Lemmy dying, dude. It's just left a Lemmy size hole in my heart. And I love Motorhead. I play bass and scream badly. And anybody who does that, you worship the altar of the man. And you're right. That was like the first domino in this late era of, I think, because he was like the first guy of that age, 70. Like he just got to 70 right before he passed. And it was like, oh shit, now I see what's about to happen. And Dio, was right before that a few years. So it's rough. It's rough. Hopefully all the heavy metalers go to Valhalla and doing shots.
Music, so.
Yeah, the music's forever, and that's the main thing. But man, this record's awesome. It's got like a lot of flavors, And like you said, you don't hide the influences, which is very cool. I personally, I don't know what your favorite songs on the record are. Obviously, Disco Cocaine certainly stands out. Mannequin Bones, the March song is great. Normally, I'm the kind of old school guy. It's like if a band has a song named referencing itself or named after itself, it's never that good. But this one is.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm kind of. Well, I thought. It was a joke. It was okay. The March of the Swaggerlies, like SOD had wasn't it March of
the SOD? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So it's like, okay, let's just, it's kind of a joke. But then I'm like, oh shit, now I have to write an instrumental. I've never done an instrumental in my life. I have no clue. But luckily, there's a killer guitar solo. That's Captain Ron playing guitar. It's like, whoa, man, it blew my mind. I love it. We don't really play it live that much anymore. It's really kind of challenging. I didn't realize it when I wrote it, how difficult it's going to be to play this and the weird little time signature stuff going on. But I'm glad it's like, we wanted to have like a classic album. Like when I was a kid, there was like certain albums. It's like, okay, there's always like a little instrumental on there, And I was okay. Let's try and do this. Like we're gonna follow that blueprint of our favorite albums we listened to growing up, And that's why we put an instrumental on there.
Right on, right on. You could always use the March song as like a wrestling theme and come out on stage to it or leave to it.
It's funny because our guitar player, Ron, he has a friend who lives in New Zealand. He just moved back here and he makes surf videos. And he told me, he came to our show the other night and he told me, he's like, yeah, man, I put your March of the Swaggerlies to some cool surf videos. I'm like, oh, well, okay, cool. Send them my way, man. That's great,
That's fun. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And then of course I can't, Drunken London is great. And I can't, obviously the album caps on a very serious, somber note, which is Letter to a Friend, which is very heavy. There's a heavy note to go out on emotionally, but still a pretty upbeat, fun record.
Yeah. And that was a song that Ron Heathman and I did at a friend's studio right before we went on tour back in January of 2020. And that was the last thing Ron ever recorded. That's his last recording of Ron Heathman. So it's like, I knew that was out there somewhere and I kind of forgot about it. And I told my friend who was doing our record, I said, let's get that song and have the band come in and, because it was all like programmed drums and stuff, program bass, or the producer was playing bass. And I was like, let's get our band in here and fill in these parts. So it's Ron and our new guitar player, Ron's on that song too. But that's all Ron Heathman doing, those cool little leads and the acoustic guitar, that's all Ron. That's all Ron Heathman on that. So it's like, that's got to make on the album anyway, even if it seems like it doesn't fit. But this album is kind of about, it's about grieving in a way, but it's also about having fun, and celebrating, music. That sounds kind of hokey, but it's like that song's got to find a way onto this album, especially since it's Ron's last recording. So it's like last of the one and onlys, man.
There it is, right on. No, man. Like we've been through so much collectively as humans. Like you can't be so cynical and start saying like, well, that's cheesy. This is a little fun thing. I did an interview with a legendary black metal and avant-garde metal artist. And I was like, oh man, I was like very sad that day. I heard about a friend that passed and I was like, oh, this whole pandemic just makes you appreciate human life. And he was like, nah. And I was like, oh, word? Okay, fuck my feelings. Forget me for having, a heart and shit. And then my heart shrunk, grew 2 more sizes. But like, this dude was like, nah, like be nihilist about it. The humanity is too many of us. This happens periodically. The earth cleanses itself of all these extra humans. I was like, I guess, but like,
black metal. He's committed to black metal.
He's super committed. Well, he's definitely committed to like his nihilism and his like absolutism. He's a great artist, and I'm not trying to name names and knock people. People can go back and listen to our podcast and our video interviews and check it out. But like, yeah, I was like, oh, I think it's okay to have a heart. I think this time has taught us to not. I'm never gonna take a show for granted again. If there's a veteran artist, we just talked about Lemmy and I mentioned Dio and Ron, like if there's a great artist out there you want to see, you personally, anybody watching this, go see your favorites. Don't be like, I never saw so-and-so when you could have. If you can't, then they're not touring anymore. Like, Eddie Van Halen got sick and I don't know how many more Van Halen tours there would have been if he was that ill. But like, I got to see Van Halen, at least with Eddie and Dave. And I was really happy about that.
Oh, man,
But like, if you have a chance to go, if like, oh, screw Kiss, but it's like if you ever wanted to see Kiss, you could still see Kiss, whatever that Kiss looks like. And you can at least say, I saw them once and I got the Kiss thing out of my system. Or Crew if they come back, when they come back. If that's your thing and you want to see Vince yell and not be able to sing, go see Motley Crue.
These giants of music are, you know, the bands we grew up with, man. They're not going to last forever, obviously. No. See, and you're probably more steeped into the scene because I'm trying to find. I'm constantly going between stuff I missed the first time around, like going back and digging deep into like, you know, some obscure stuff, and I'm also trying to find like new stuff. But I mean, and I like classic sounding metal. You know, I like the old. You know, I like melody. I like singing. I can't do the growly kind of stuff. I mean, there's a place for it, obviously, but for me, so I'm always like trying to find like, okay, what's some good classic sounding metal? I'm at the age now where I like everything classic country, classic punk, classic metal. But you know, you got to keep your mind open to new stuff, and you know, I'm always on the hunt for it.
Right on. I'll give you some label suggestions, and you could go from there. Cruz del Sur Records puts out a lot of classic sounding heavy metal from modern bands, as does our friends at Wise Blood Records. Wise Blood has 2 words, Wise Blood out of Indiana. And then a third would be High Roller Records out of Germany. And they also put out like a lot of what sounds like, oh, this sounds like it came from the 70s or 80s. And it's badass. And it's all brand new bands, it's all young people making this music with a little modern, little modern feel, but that style. So if you like those things.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna write that down. Or
I'll send it to Curtis. I'll shout out to C Square Music, and I'll send it to Curtis Dewar, my buddy. And man, no problem. I probably could recommend bands. There's a guy on our staff who sings for a band called Lava Born that had my absolute favorite heavy metal album of the year. If I didn't know him and he didn't write for us, this record's fantastic.
Lava Born.
Lava Born. It's like a mashup. It's like if Iron Maiden was led by like Lux of the Cramps or Peter Steele. It's like very baritone-y, but like super heavy metal awesomeness. Really powerful stuff. Yeah, man. I'm sorry to such a weird random conversation, but I do want to ask. I don't know what this. Seattle, where you're at, is such a iconic city for music. Not just the big things we all know about, but just locally as an art and music scene. I know how hard it's been. What do you think that, what is it going to look like as it's coming back? Do you lose a lot of local venues? Are they coming back? What do you think the story is going to be in your town?
We did lose some venues, and I think that's probably due to, I think it's due to COVID, obviously. They just can't keep their doors open. There's some that hung on by the skin of their teeth, and they managed to be agile. But we've done a couple benefits for our favorite venue here in Everett, Washington, Tony B's Garage, which we did a benefit show for them, like a live stream, and you call in or you send money. So I think it's coming back. It's slowly coming back, and a lot of proof of vaccination required for a lot of these venues. And the 2 that we play, that our band plays the most at, is Slim's Last Chance down in Seattle and Daryl's Tavern in North Seattle. So it's like either end of Seattle. The owners are really cool. They're very, they're smart. Treat the bands great. So I guess, I think I don't know if it's gonna come back exactly the way it was, where there's just a shit ton of, you throw a rock and you hit a music venue. But I think it's gonna come back. It's gonna be good. I don't have a lot of doubts. We try and get out of town as often as we can anyway. So we do come back. It's like great to see everybody, and these are our favorite places to play. But yeah, I'm not too worried about the Seattle music scene suffering any long-term damage.
Right on. Well, it's important. Every big town kind of faces that too. But also, I wanted to ask, like, beyond this record coming out, are you guys going to get back out and tour again? Are you going to test the waters with some local shows? Regional shows? What is the plan for you guys?
We've already been out. We've played some regional stuff. I know we're probably going to do some stuff down in Portland. Yeah, back in 2019, we played. We did a little loop from like Portland to Reno to San Francisco and back to Eugene. So we'll probably do something like that. Something that's going to look like that. Maybe hit Missoula, Montana. We don't go too far from home. I mean, we go, but it takes a long time to get up here to Seattle. Like there's nothing between Seattle and Portland or Seattle and Spokane. But there's little clubs we play in like Yakima, Washington, Wenatchee, Washington. It's like 2 hours away over the mountains. We'll do a little weekend there, play out of town, and they're just, everyone's so thirsty for music. You play these cool little towns, they have these, cool little venues, and people are they flocked because everyone's thirsty for music. They want to, it's been too long. Everyone's freaking out. They want their rock and roll.
We want to rock again, man. We need our lives back. Just as we wind this down, I can't ever resist somebody in a room with guitars and I start nerding out. So I wanted to ask you about the guitars behind you and which one's your favorite, and if there's a story behind some of those guys.
This one, my Gretsch over here, the BST 5000. That's a 1979 Gretsch. Yeah, this is my go-to right now. This is my main. It does everything, man. It's got all the bells and whistles. So it's like, and the pickups sound great. It's old 70s American-made guitar, And then I got my Les Paul Jr. I got I don't know if you can see that green SG.
I love that green SG.
Yeah, that's actually Chinese, but we kind of gutted it and put it everything's like American in it now. It's like really cool pickups. I got my Hagstrom Viking back there, my Sunny Hollow. Got my Yamaha 1984 Yamaha Lord Player from Japan, Les Paul, killer guitar. I got that from my cousin. I got a Gretsch over here. I got Ron Heathman's Telecaster over here.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I got this. This is Ron's. Yeah, he put this together himself, so it's all his parts. So this is what I got when Ron passed. So
that's a beauty, man.
Cool.
Wow. Yeah, very cool.
Nice. But he had a bunch of gear at our band practice place. So after he passed on, he had this really killer Les Paul, and that all went to his daughter down in California. So, but I got to keep the Telecaster, which is cool.
Very cool. Very, very cool, man. Yeah. Wow. Thanks for sharing that with us. That's heavy and awesome. And yeah, man, just Earle, it's been a pleasure to chat with you, man. Congratulations on the new album, Last of One Onlys. And super excited for you, man. Keep up the good work and we'll continue to promote and bump this record as much as possible.
Thanks a lot, man. It was really good talking to you.